Kevin Durant is staying with the Brooklyn Nets, and thus the Boston Celtics will not be able to acquire Kevin Durant, at least for now, right? Who knows what will happen at the trade deadline or even next season. But the big issue is this may be a problem for the Celtics in the near future in regards to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was the centerpiece in the Kevin Durant trade. And the reason the Celtics were willing to trade Jaylen Brown is because of the fear of him leaving in 2 seasons. He's not going to sign a contract extension because he makes more money as a free agent. It's just the way that the extensions work. So he's not going to sign that. He will be a free agent, and thus they run the risk of him just leaving and going to another team. He wants to be a number 1 guy. As long as he's on the Celtics, he'll always be the number 2 just because Jason Tatum's there. And now we saw that Jaylen Brown wasn't happy about being in trade talks with the Boston Celtics, even for a guy like Kevin Durant. And the way the Celtics looked at it is like, well, when will we ever get a chance to trade Jaylen Brown for a guy of the status of Kevin Durant? And then if he walks, like, let it be the Nets' problem. Let the Nets figure it out. There he gets to go be the number 1 guy. They likely re-sign him. And that was the thinking. That was the logic. Now, Brad Stevens has came out and said, like, yeah, we weren't the ones talking, all that stuff. Basically just saying, like, yeah, we were willing to trade him, but, we didn't say it publicly. Like, the whole interview and stuff was just, he was just trying to back circle to try to, show face for Jaylen Brown. And now, look, Jaylen Brown, I don't think he's going anywhere this season. I don't think the Celtics are going to trade him this season. But there is a team that has been reported as a possible destination, and that is the team that always seems to be a possible destination outside of the Lakers, of course, is the Miami Heat. Now, Miami wants to upgrade. They need another scorer. They need another go-to guy to really help out Jimmy Butler. They also have Bam Adebayo. Those 2 guys seem to be the only real untouchables, and Miami wants to get another guy that can help alleviate. They were just in the Eastern Conference Finals against these Boston Celtics, and were a Jimmy Butler 3 away, in and out, from being in the NBA Finals, and then who knows what would happen, right? Many people think Miami matched up better against the Warriors than the Celtics did, but regardless, Miami is looking for upgrades. They were in the Kevin Durant conversation. There's been reports and links to them and the Donovan Mitchell trade. They are trying to find whatever angle they can to go and acquire another star for Miami. Problem is, they don't have a ton of viable assets that many teams want in a trade. They have Tyler Hero, and they got Vincent and Strus, and they got some draft picks, but nothing that is like super enticing. Like the draft picks, they're not going to be very good if Miami gets a guy of like Jaylen Brown stature, or even like a Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, stuff like that. And you have Hero, who is a solid player, but is he really like a guy that can lead your team? Is he a guy that can really change your franchise? Like, there's a lot of questions with Tyler Hero, even especially on the defensive end. And again, I don't think Jaylen Brown would be traded this year, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Celtics start exploring trades again for him come this offseason. And they will likely want to recoup as much as they can if they really fear that Jaylen Brown is going to leave. Now, look, winning solves everything. If the Celtics are looking great again, let's say they're back in the NBA Finals, let's say they win the NBA Finals, I don't think Jaylen Brown's going to go anywhere, but in the meantime, you need to put yourself in a position to do that. And the Celtics definitely got some upgrades. Obviously, Gallo got hurt, so that's a big little issue. But nonetheless, I do think that the Celtics are in a prime position to be competitive again, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if they are in the NBA Finals. So if Miami were to go after Jaylen Brown, I don't think the Celtics would entertain that until the offseason, or, best case scenario, maybe the trade deadline. Let's say something, it's not going well for the Celtics, something like that. But the Celtics still have time. And when it comes to Jaylen Brown proved he could be that guy. There are a lot of concerns with his dribbling, right? I mean, that was a big issue, a big hot topic, was like he can't really handle the ball, but that can be improved, that can be worked on, he can figure that out, it'll be fine. But he showed he's a guy that can just go get you buckets. He's a guy in many ways like a Jimmy Butler, where he's not as natural of a scorer as like a Jason Tatum is, but just through pure determination, skill, size, strength, things like that. He's able to generate baskets. And that is huge for Miami. We saw what Jimmy Butler was able to do. Jaylen Brown is more skilled, I believe, offensively than Jimmy Butler is, but still, he's not like as just naturally gifted of a scorer as like a Kevin Durant or a Jason Tatum, stuff like that. Like Jaylen Brown has to kind of work for his buckets more than most like star scorers in this league. And so I do think that he would be huge for Miami because, one, you don't lose the defense, and that's what Miami's all about. You basically get a younger, more offensively skilled Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, to pair with Jimmy Butler and Bam. Like, that's a pretty good trio. But, like, what assets would you have that the Celtics would want in that type of trade that, say, another team might not want? Like, Phoenix could give a pretty solid package, right? Like, would you upgrade if you're the Phoenix Suns? Would you trade, like a Bridges and Johnson and maybe an Ayton for a Jaylen Brown and maybe some other piece, throw something in like the rookie Davis or some picks or something along those lines? And like you're the Celtics, you get a solid center. Yeah, you have Time Lord, but injuries, you have concerns. There's a lot of questions about him. Again, this wouldn't be for another year or so. So things would have to fall into place. You'd have to have the dominoes fall, stuff like that. But just for a team to throw out there as like a comparison, they could go after a guy like Jaylen Brown and have enough to recoup assets for that. Or, a team like Toronto Raptors, like they could go and put together a package for, say OG and Gary Trent, something like that. Like there are teams out there that I just think can put together so much better packages that the Celtics would be intrigued for than a Miami. Like what are you trading? You're trading Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry. Like they don't need Kyle Lowry, because they have Marcus Smart. So it's like, why would we take Kyle Lowry? And then outside of that, like what other pieces? Like you're not trading Bam if you're Miami, and you're not trading Jimmy Butler. So like, I don't think Tyler Hero and some picks gets it done for Jaylen Brown unless Jaylen Brown forces his way to Miami. Like if Jaylen Brown says, like the only team I will go to is Miami, then, the Celtics don't have very many options there. You might as well get what you can. But if Jaylen Brown's like, look, I'll go anywhere where I can just be a top guy or I can be, a big go-to guy and lead a team, I think Miami would make a lot of sense. That's why I thought Brooklyn made a lot of sense because Brooklyn, they were a team that if Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving are gone, that's you. Ben Simmons isn't going to be your go-to guy. So you're the number one guy. It's you and Ben Simmons that they're building this team around. And maybe that trade gets explored again later on. I mean, obviously, the Celtics, if they could go and get Kevin Durant next season, right? Like, let's say the Nets work it out this year and let's say they don't win and Kevin Durant wants out again, then yeah, the Celtics deal could be right back on the table and they could be getting the deal done. I don't see Miami. Miami's just in such a weird position because they don't have any viable assets. All of their money guys outside of Tyler Hero are all guys that they don't want to trade in like Bam or Butler, or they're all just old contracts that teams aren't going to want, teams aren't going to take. Their draft picks aren't worth anything because they're all going to be late draft picks if they were to get a star like that, and teams don't seem to value Tyler Hero that high. I mean, Tyler Hero can't even start on Miami, so like how good is Tyler Hero? Yeah, he's a perfect sixth man because he's a guy that could just come in and go get you buckets. But if you're the Celtics, do you really need that? You want somebody that's going to be a complement to the loss of Jaylen Brown. So you want somebody that can play defense and score. Even if they're not getting you 30 a game, you're better off getting a guy that can at least put some points on the board as well as, stop the guy from scoring more than he's putting up. I just think however you shake it, I just don't see Miami as a viable trade option for many of these teams. Now, if they wanted like a Marcus Smart, I think, yeah, they could probably go get a guy like that. And that's another piece of this puzzle, right? Like, because Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart were a part of this trade, does Marcus Smart feel spited? Does Marcus Smart feel like, like I'm one of the odd guys too. Like I just won Defensive Player of the Year for you guys. Like Jaylen Brown single-handedly was trying to keep us in games and the NBA Finals. He's putting up 20-point fourth quarters, stuff like that. Like, look, I'm not saying Jaylen Brown could become a free agent. The Celtics could feel comfortable. They could work it out. They could get a confirmation from Jaylen Brown next season that hey, I'm going to stay. I'm going to re-sign. Like I said, if they're winning, if they win an NBA championship, Jaylen Brown ain't going anywhere. But if like, let's say they are like a second round exit, and it's like, does Jaylen Brown start going, hey, like, I want to go elsewhere. Like, if I can't win here, like, I'd rather go to a team where, like, if I can lead them to a championship, then, I'll get a lot more praise than I will here on the Celtics. Like, it's something to think about. Because, I mean, in all honesty, I think the Celtics were a Chris Middleton away from getting eliminated, and the Bucks might go in back-to-back champions. I mean, seriously, like, Boston, they did get some great upgrades and improve their roster, and I do think that the experience that they went through is going to be huge for them. But there's still a lot of questions. Are they still good enough to get out of the Eastern Conference? The Eastern Conference is very top-heavy, and then, from like the 5 seed on down, kind of just falls off. But there's still enough good teams in the Eastern Conference. Not just that, what is Philly going to look like if James Harden can get back to being, Houston James Harden? Like, he was, he said he was injured and this, that, and the other, and all the excuses in the book. And we saw the dud that James Harden laid. But, like, if he can get back, they're a scary team. Like, so I don't know. There's a lot of questions. How is Jason Tatum going to perform? How is he going to deliver, come the playoffs? And if they do make it to the finals, is he going to lay an egg again and just not show up? He says that, he broke his wrist. Okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. We need to see what you can do this next coming season. And so Marcus Smart, does he feel the same way as Jaylen Brown? Is like, I want out of here next season. Again, I don't think this happens this season. I think this team will be intact. I think they will be fine. I don't think there's going to be any locker room drama. I don't think there's going to be any mess. But after this season, I think we will see a lot of trade talks, and maybe even at the trade deadline, depending on where the Nets are. Depending on where the Brooklyn Nets are, we could see Jaylen Brown brought up again in trade talks. But anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think Miami would be a viable option for Jaylen Brown? Would you love to see it? Do you think it wouldn't happen? Do you have concerns that Jaylen Brown leaves in 2 seasons? Or do you think, like, nah, he'll stay. He'll just re-sign a new contract with the Celtics, and all will be right in the world. However you feel about it, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. One last little shameless plug is I did start As It Stands Lakers. It is a channel just like this, dedicated to only the Lakers, because the Lakers are my favorite team. And on this channel, As It Stands, I talk about all teams, all sports, stuff like that. We have football season coming up, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And I just wanted to make a dedicated channel to the Lakers to give the ins and outs. Now, all the big stuff, all the big news and stuff, I will still post here on this channel. But if you want all the ins and outs and just rumors and theories and just discussions just strictly on the Lakers, link down in the description or in the comment section. Go check out the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.